Hey, real estate besties. Today is Tuesday, and around here, that means that we are answering your burning questions. Now, I don't care if it's about a deal that you're working, just a question on how to organize something in your business, or if you just want to dish with your good real estate bestie, I am here to answer your questions. Now, if you have a question, head on over to rosemarylewis.com/ask, and you will be able to leave a voicemail and I will answer your question on the podcast. Let's get into our question for today. Hey, besties. Okay, today's question is from our girl Gigi in DFW. She is in a DFW. Look, for those of you who don't know, that's Dallas, Fort Worth, okay, in the DFW area. And here is her question. Are open houses worth my time? I just don't know if I should keep doing them because they don't seem to be producing any business. Oh, okay, Gigi. So let me tell you what's funny about this question is that a couple weeks ago, we were at the Real Estate Bestie Bash. And y'all know I had my girl, Nancy Macia there. Nancy is one of my real life real estate besties. I absolutely love Nancy. She was on a guest on a podcast a couple of months ago talking about client relationships. And she has just built a crazy referral network. And in a lot of ways, right? Nancy's business and my business, they mirror each other because we've done just a lot of the same things in our business and we approach our clients the same way. But the interesting thing is that she said at the Bestie Bash, like, oh my God, I hate open houses. Like, there's no way. I think that they're a total waste of your time. I've never gotten a client from it. And, it just wasn't great for me. And by the way, if you want to hear, like, Nancy is like such a firecracker. She was on episode 27 on the podcast. But I feel differently, and I get it because I do think that sometimes, and you've probably heard this before, that an open house is not like they don't sell houses. Yeah, I'm still on the fence with both of those, right? Because I'm on the other side, right? Where I love, like, if I have to choose outside of just loving on my sphere of influence, like, what is an activity, a lead generation activity that I can do to get me in front of new people that I don't already have a connection with? Open houses are definitely going to be one of my favorite ways to do it. And I've had open houses sell my listings time and time again. So I just bring up these two totally different perspectives from two successful agents to say, it really just depends on how you're wired and if you feel like it's a good use of your time, right? And the reason that I say that is like what makes an open house successful or not successful to you, that will change from person to person. I'm going to give you the perspective to say, like, I have done an open house and I'm thinking of an open house that I did in particular. And y'all gonna have to like stay with me here for this story. Okay. I did this open house and it was an open house on my listing. Y'all catch me? Okay. So it's my listing. The listing had been on the market. This was before the pandemic. So this was back when listings were just on the market for 30, 40, 50 days, right? That's just what had happened. So I'm probably on day 45 of being on the market, and comes to the open house is a gentleman and he loves the house, right? He absolutely loves the house. So he loves the house. And then he says, hey, I want you to be my realtor. Like, this was like his MO. And y'all, I stay in contact with him because his MO, this was his third house he bought. And he said, anytime I want to buy a house, I just go to the open house and I let the person at the open house represent me, right? So that's number one. So I represented the seller. He was unrepresented as a buyer. But then he had a house that I sold his house. Okay. I sold his house to an investor that I knew. Okay. So then the investor put the house for lease. Okay. So y'all with me. So house number one, he came to the open house. He bought that house, but he had a house to sell. His house was house number two. House number two, I listed it. Well, I sold it to an investor, and then the investor had me list house number two for rent. When I was listing house number two for rent, I had a couple come through, and that couple was interested in the house for rent. Well, it wasn't for them, right? So I ended up helping them rent another house. But guess what? That couple had a house to sell because they were actually going through just a different time in their lives. So they decided they needed to cash out of the house they owned and they needed to rent for a year or two. Okay. So house number three comes into play. I list that house and I sell it. I helped them rent a house. A year later, guess what had happened? They came back to me and said, okay, finances are better. Things are looking up. We're going to go ahead and we are going to buy a house. So now that's house number 4. House number 4, they go ahead and buy it, live there 2 years. And don't you know that they decided that they wanted to move to be back closer to mom and dad because they had another baby. So then house number 4, I sold it. Remember, I helped them buy it. Now I help them sell it. Then when they went to go live out of state closer to mom and dad, guess who got the referral fee? Because I connected them with an agent. So that one open house, y'all, when I go back and I add it up, it made me well over 6 figures. And I haven't even begun to talk to you about all of the referrals and things that happened with the people that were in those transactions. So I'm just here to tell you that even on a listing that was kind of sort of stale, I was doing the open houses and walked in the door somebody who caused a domino effect. But let me tell you something else though. Even on situations where it didn't work out like that, I never ever looked at an open house, even if no one came, as a dud. Because for me, especially as I got started and just trying to figure out how to balance my time and be a mom and a wife and do all these things, going to do open houses was the time. Honestly, y'all, that's when I went and I learned how to time block, because I would do open houses on a weekend and I would be listening to my motivational stuff if nobody was there. And then I would just be playing with my schedule, just trying to figure out, okay, how can I make all of these puzzle pieces fit so that I could start creating rhythm? So I would take those 2 to 3 hours that I was doing an open house, and I would make sure that that was like my focus time for the week to be working on my business. So whether I was time blocking, whether I was taking pictures in the house, I was going live in the house, I was creating content. I was, that might have even been a time where, hey, ain't nobody here. Let me go and start calling my sphere of influence. Let me start inviting people that I just know personally and say, hey, I got all these cookies over here. Y'all want to come eat some? I'm right up the street from you. So open houses have never, ever been a waste of time. But I do think that the way I think about them have helped. Now, our open house is going to be a great, the best lead generation avenue for everybody? No, because I know a lot of people who kill it in other ways. Open houses are just not their jam, right? Like for me, cold calling is not my jam. Does cold calling work? It absolutely does. But is it my preferred way of generating and attracting clients to my business? It is not. So figure out, I guess in short, yes, they work. And no, they don't. It just really depends on it. It really depends on how you're approaching it and what a win, I guess that's the better way to say it. What does a win in an open house look like for you? But trust me, there are definitely agents winning and converting at open houses. And this is the last thing that I will say. For those of you who are having a tough time converting, I probably need to do a training about just really how to have conversations at open houses, because I do think that sometimes it can feel like a waste of time because we're not able to convert the people, right? And I think that part of that is in our chain of conversation. I know a lot of times I've seen agents and I've observed them just be really nice at open houses. Okay, yay, did you like the house? I don't care if they like the house. I really don't. I want to get there. I want to know LP Mama. I want to know their motivation. If they have an agent, how soon are they shopping? So I think this is the game changer, is knowing how to have the right conversation. So someone just doesn't look around and wave and tell you bye and you got no information, right? So if you're going to do the open house, I will say this, and people are coming in, we want to make sure that we're doing single thing that we can do to actually work it and get some fruit for it. So maybe we got to do a part 2 on this at some point. If you have more specific questions about open houses, hit me up at rosemarylewis.com/ask. But I hope that this baseline question is helpful for you. Okay, bye besties.